Certamen inde de regno inter factiones ortum est. Surprise, surprise, a messy transition of power. Okay, we've got a subject here. Adverb inde, de regno, of course. Prepositional phrase. Another prepositional phrase, inter factiones. So a struggle arose about what and between whom. Sabini regum suae factionis creare cupiebant. Okay, subject here. We've got an accusative. Why is this accusative? Hold that thought and then we'll see. A king. What kind of king? A king of this genitive phrase. So that's a genitive modifying that king. And then we have an infinitive. Oh, this makes sense now. They were wanting this guy to be made. There's your passive infinitive. Romani veteres peregrinum regum recusabant. Okay, we've got a subject here. That's funny. They're now old Romans, veteran Romans, even though they're still kind of in a new city. Peregrinum, noun adjective pair. Peregrinum talks about regum. Recusabant. So we have your subject, direct object, and verb. Interregno secuto, sonatos imperium gessit. Okay, ablative absolute. Then we just have a boring subject, direct object, verb. Deinde plebs clamare coebit multos dominos pro uno factos esse. Okay, and then the plebs, remember those are the people who are not the Senate. Clamare is an infinitive dependent upon coebit, so that's what they were doing. And clamare, shouting, that's a kissing verb because you're saying something, kind of hard to shout if you're not saying something, which of course introduces an indirect statement. So we have our accusative subject here, multos dominos. Pro uno, okay, prepositional phrase inside there. And then we have the infinitive verb of your indirect statement. Notice this infinitive is a passive infinitive. If you don't remember that, you might want to review that point. Subject, verb, prepositional phrase. Optimum igitur visum est sine mora regum creare. Okay, inside here, visum est. Oh, this is used impersonally. It seemed, and how did it seem? Optimum. It seemed best, therefore, to do something. So prepositional phrase, and then here is the infinitive. What did it seem best? It seemed best to do this. To whom? To that guy. Habitabat eo tempore curibus numa Pompilius vir justissimus peritusque omnes divini atque humani juris. Oh, new guy on the scene. Okay, so we've got a verb here. Eo tempore, ablative of time when. Curibus, that talks about where. Remember where that town is? Oh, and then here is the subject of that verb, a new guy. His name is Numa Pompilius. And then they give us a phrase to describe him. Justissimus vir. There is an adjective modifying vir. And peritus also describes him. He was skilled, and peritus is an adjective that takes a genitive. You're skilled of a genitive, which is what this thing's. He is skilled in regard to juris, and whose laws? Omnes divini atque humani. So he's skilled in regard to laws in one and two different ways. Regnum ei omnium consensu de latum est. Okay, don't get fooled by regnum. That's a neuter noun. It's the subject. Ei, don't get fooled by that guy because that's from is, et, id. And of course, being awesome Latin students, you remember that ei is either dative singular or nominative plural. So we have to hold that thought and figure out what's going on here. Omnium, genitive. Okay, still waiting to see what's going on. Consensu, well, that's ablative. And it makes sense to say, according to or by the opinion of everyone. So we're going to chunk that out right now. And then we have our verb, de latum est. Okay, so this resolves lots of stuff. First of all, de latum est is passive. So we know that something is conferred or was conferred, perfect passive, by the consent of everyone. And since it's here, we know that our subject has to be neuter singular, which matches, of course, with regnum. So then that also explains what's going on with AE. So the kingdom was handed over to whom? To him, dative, AE, by the agreement of everyone. Okay, moving on. Is urbem noam, quae a Romulo armis condita erat, jure legibusque firmavit. Okay, so they're telling us is, new subject, he, most likely pneuma. So we're switching subjects. Before the subject was regnum. So he, and then we have an accusative pair, urbem noam. So most likely that is our direct object. Something about the new city. What about the new city? Oh, before we find out exactly what he did to the new city, we get a relative clause describing it. Because it starts with the quae. And then if we keep going, inside the relative clause, of course, we have this prepositional phrase, a Romulo. Armis is also ablative, just like Romulo, but you know that it's not part of the prepositional phrase because there's no connector. So, which, by Romulus, something about weapons. Oh, and then here's our verb, condita erat. Of course, you're recognizing these perfect passive verbs. Actually, this is pluperfect because the erat had been. So, which had been condita by whom? By Romulus. And what did Romulus use? He used armies. So we're still waiting. What's going on? What did he, Numa, do to this new city? Well, whatever he did it with two things. Ablative 1, jure, and ablative 2, legibus. So he used these two things to do something, and then here's your verb. So he firmavit, the new city, with these two things, and then here's this phrase that talks about the new city. We will continue on now. Arcum portis instructam fecit. Qui arcus Ianni appellatus est. We will stop there and deal with the rest of the semicolon on the next page. So arcum, okay, that's accusative. So I'm going to assume that pneuma is still the subject. And if you remember from the introduction, it does say that pneuma does a bunch of stuff. This is probably part of that list. So direct object, portis. Ablative or dative plural. We'll have to hold that thought. Instructum, well, that looks to me like a perfect passive participle. So that most likely modifies arcum because they match in case number and gender. And then that would explain portis here. Portis is ablative, but since porta means gate, I doubt that something was drawn up by the gates, as in the gates doing it, but maybe this is an ablative of location talking about where it happened. And then here's the verb. So Numa made the arcum, which was instructum at the gates. And now he's going to give us some details about the arcum. Let's see. Qui arcus Ianni appellatus est. Oh, that's not so bad. By now, we should definitely recognize this verb appellatus est because he uses a lot to talk about the naming. So which arch, or which was called the arch, and then this is important, Ianni is genitive. Apertus belli index erat, clausus pacus. Okay, watch out for this word apertus. It is not a participle. This is a fourth declension noun, nominative singular. So we've got a nominative, and then we have an adjective, and we have a linking verb. So this is just apertus erat index. Belly is a genitive noun modifying index. And then on the next side of this comma, we have clausus, which is also your nominative noun. And we have a gapped index erat. Again, clausus index erat. And then pacus is another genitive talking about the index. So we have a parallel construction going on here. Per omne regnum numai, clausus fuit. Okay, hopefully you recognize the prepositional phrase here. Numai is talking about regnum. And then we've got clausus fuit, another linking sentence. I'm assuming that the subject is the gapped apertus from the previous sentence, apertus clausus fuit. Pax, cum civitatibus finitimis, societate ac foederibus facta est. Okay, subject here is pax, peace. Well, that's been a while since it showed up. Cum civitatibus finitimis is, of course, a prepositional phrase. Hopefully by now you are not mixing up nouns and adjectives. Finitimis is an adjective modifying civitatibus. And then we have two ablatives in a row, societate ac foederibus, and then your verb. So pax facta est, again, perfect passive. Rex inde ad mores populi cultumque deorum animum convertit. Oh, what a nice guy. Subject Rex, who's our king that we're talking about? Numa, of course. Inde, boring adverb. And then ad mores. Okay, ad mores populi. Well, I know that ad mores is definitely inside the prepositional phrase. And I'm anticipating that populi modifies mores as a genitive. And then cultumque, oh, we're continuing. So we've got mores as one object of the prepositional phrase. And then we've got another que. So there's another object of the prepositional phrase, with deorum, of course, modifying cultum. Okay, and then, since there's no connector and plus deorum is genitive, animum is the direct object of convertit. So the king then convertit the animum. How? Ad mores populi cultumque deorum. Ut populi fidem conciliaret, simulavit se cum dea ageria congressus habere, et manitu eius sacra instituere sacerdotesque legere. You know, I think this is an example of early political manipulation, perhaps using a religion to help control people. Okay, we've got a big honkin' ut at the beginning here. So if we have a subjunctive verb, this is some sort of ut clause. If we have an indicative, it just means as. So we will have to keep going to see. But I'll bracket it for now. Ut populi fidem, okay, direct object, fidem, populi modifies it. Oh, and there we have conciliaret. Looks subjunctive to me. So I think this is probably a purpose clause, but we'll keep going and see. Simulavit, he pretended. Oh, that's what politicians do. Okay, and that's kind of like saying, so I'm anticipating that we will have an indirect statement. Oh, most likely, because we've got that say here. I see an infinitive here, and an infinitive there, and an infinitive there. So, yep, indirect statement, but you knew that was coming. Okay, so it starts here. And then this is the subject of the indirect statement. Say, cum dea ageria, looks like a prepositional phrase inside it. Cum dea ageria, random goddess. What about him and the random goddess? Congressus, don't get tripped up, fourth declension accusative plural. Habere. Okay, so we've got subject, verb, direct object. He pretended that he did this thing. So there's one thing he did inside the indirect statement. Et manitu, let's see, ablative, and eius talks about it, and it's probably referring to the goddess Ageria. Sacra, okay, another direct object here. Accusative. So he did something to the sacras because of her warning. And then here is your infinitive telling what. So here's the second thing that he lied about. Se instituere sacra. Okay. Sacerdotes. I'm thinking that this is still the direct object of something that se does. And the reason I'm thinking that is because this que is is connecting things that are the same. So let's see. Oh, yep, there's legere, our third infinitive. So he, Numa the politician, pretended that he did this, and he did this, and he legere the sacerdotes, which of course is the direct object of that. So three things that he pretended to do there. Okay, so I'm going to end the indirect statement and move on to the next part. Annum ad cursum lunae in duodecim menses descripsit. Okay, new direct object, annum. Ad cursum lunae, prepositional phrase, just like that. Another prepositional phrase here. In duodecim menses, and then here is our verb. So he numa descripsit the annum ad cursum lunae in duodecim menses. Okay, moving on. Quosdam dies nefastos fecit. Per quos dies comitia non habebantur. Okay, by now you should recognize that when you put that dam at the end of those QU words, it means certain. So we're looking to look at the OS here, and that's going to help us to decide what quos modifies. It's got to modify something masculine accusative plural, which would be dies. So something about certain days, they're direct objects. Oh, nefastos fecit. So this is a factative sentence where the subject makes an accusative thing, in this instance, quosdam dies. It makes them another accusative thing, nefastos. And then we have a prepositional phrase that introduces a relative clause. Through which dies? So here's our prepositional phrase, and the entire relative clause starts here, and of course it's going to have to end here. Comitia, subject, and then there's a verb, passive verb, with comitia as the subject. Virgines vestales legit, quas ceremoniis quibus dam sanctas fecit. Okay. Oh, Vestal virgins, they're going to show up in your culture. Notice your virgines vestales can either be nominative or accusative. How are we going to figure it out? We're going to hold that thought till we get to the verb legit. Well, legit is singular, so our Vestal virgins can't be the subject because there's more than one of them. So it's probably still Numa. Numa picked Vestal virgins. And then we've got this relative clause to describe them. Notice again we have the quibus dam, which tells us that it goes with something. It means certain. So inside our relative clause, we've got a direct object. Ceremoniis looks ablative to me, so quibus dam is ibus there. That's ablative, so it goes with that. Sanctas, okay. We've got an accusative, and the verb fecit. So it's just like before, where we have the subject makes one accusative into another accusative. Again, a factative sentence. Multa etiam alia a rege instituta sunt, ritus ceremoniae sacerdotia. Okay, a bunch of other things. Multa etiam alia. So there's a subject or a direct object. We'll have to hold that thought. A rege. Well, when I see that, I'm thinking, ding, 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 something passive coming up. And there it is, our passive verb, instituta sunt. So this must be the subject. Multa etiam alia. And then here's a verb, instituta sunt, with the ablative of agent, showing who did all that, the king again. And now we have a list of 3 things that make up the multa. Ritus, ceremoniae, and sacerdotia, all of which are nominative. Notice when you have a long list, you can skip the connector sometimes in Latin. Multitudo, his rebus a vi et armis conversa, regus mores imitabatur. Oh, people are so easily manipulated. Okay, so we have the subject, multitudo, obviously nominative. His rebus. Is this ablative or dative? Not quite sure, but I know this phrase goes together because his is talking about rebus. Well, avi is a prepositional phrase, but I see it's connecting avi et armis. So, what's going on with this his rebus? Oh, conversa. Well, that makes sense. This is a perfect passive participle going back to our multitudo. So, his rebus is the ablative showing how this happened or what is responsible for the conversion. So this is an ablative of means. And then avi et armis, this is not by force and arms, because we already have the ablative showing who did the conversa, but rather this is from force and arms. Okay, and then we have mores. Okay, nominative or accusative plural. Oh, we have to think about it for a second. But wait, we already have a subject, multitudo. Well, mores can't be the subject. It can't be nominative because it's not connected. So this must be the direct object. Of course, regis, genitive modifying it. And then imitabator. Well, since we have a subject and a direct object, we can assume that this verb imitabator is deponent. Or you can just memorize the dictionary and know that because you're that cool. But there, subject, verb, direct object. And then this whole phrase modifying the subject. Finitimi populi, civitatem Romam totam, in cultum deorum versam, violare no labant. Well, isn't that convenient? Okay, we've got a subject here. Again, this is an adjective. Finitimi is an adjective, not a noun here. Finitimi populi, subject. Civitatem Romanam totam, direct object. We have this nice participial clause. In cultam deorum versam, notice prepositional phrase here. Deorum actually is part of that phrase, modifying cultum. Versam is your participle that goes with civitatem here. So just this nice participial clause describing the Roman state. And then we go back to our main clause, violare no labant. And of course you recognize that nolo is a verb that takes an infinitive. So finitimi populi, no labant, violare. And this is what they didn't want to bug. Ita, duo dienceps reges, Romulus bello, numa pace, civitatem auxerent. Okay, so duo dienceps reges is your subject. Dienceps, I love that word. We need to use it more often. There's your subject here. And then this is describing who the duo reges are. Romulus, one of them. Bello, by means of or with. And then here's their other king, Numa, by means of or with. So we have our subject. Here's our direct object, and here's our verb. Reges auxerent civitatem. Numa annos tres et quadraginta regnavit. Okay, numa's a subject. Annos tres et quadraginta looks to me like an accusative of extent of time, talking about how long he did this, regnavit.